Hello and welcome into LFC Transfer Room for another post-match reaction stream where Liverpool left a bit late. Yet again, the 12:30 voodoo has finished, joined by Chris and Ben. Start with you, Chris. Fantastic result that way, innit?
Honestly, mate, it's really nice to see the back of the 12:30 hoodoo from last season more than anything else, especially off the back of the international break, Great day. Bit of a ropey first 15 minutes, but we'll let that slide.
Yeah, we'll let it slide. We won't even speak about how bad we was for the first 15 minutes, Ben. For once, Jurgen Klopp seems to have got the subs bang on.
I thought he was ruthless as well, to be honest with you. I thought he was ruthless at half time, and he did. There was sometimes people have accused him of too much loyalty in game situations, and there was none today. He was ruthless, and he was spot on.
Race, are you like Drew? Middle of the night for you, getting up for the game. Finally got a win in the half 12s.
Yeah, I was 5:30 a.m. start for me here, so I'm a win certainly helps me wake up in the morning. That's for sure.
Yeah, massive. Chris, Núñez, Diaz, one of them got to start every week, haven't they? I mean, the minute they came on, changed the game. I think Diaz was amazing. Although Núñez didn't get a goal, that added a bit of pace really affected the Wolves back line, didn't it?
Yeah, I think there was probably two major changes that really made the difference for us. I think one of them was stretching the game with a bit of pace in the front three, like you say. And then the second one was removing Curtis Jones from the top end of the pitch, which gave us a lot more control in the kind of middle third. He was kind of all over the place in that first half. But yeah, Diaz and Núñez, it just makes a hell of a difference when you've got a team that are running backwards. And that's what we really made them do in the second half. I thought it was class. Last half an hour was nice watching.
Yeah. I mean, Ben, Chris mentioned Jones. He did have a shocker in the first half, but it seemed like when he went back into that double pivot with Dom, it just sort of added that layer of security to the side, didn't it?
I think there was more of the element of familiarity in terms of playing in the role. But yeah, I mean, the second half there, it was fantastic. In that first half, I think many of us were just shouting at the TV screens. It was chaos and crazy, but Jones had a really, really good second half. The second he got back into that double pivot role.
Yeah, and Race, just want to touch on Quansah. I mean, he did go off with cramp. A lot of people were anticipating his debut in the Premier League, but I wouldn't even say he was at fault for their goal. It seems like for a kid in his Premier League debut, he didn't really do much wrong, did he?
Yeah, I mean, kind of what I look for when you start these younger players in a game and in the Premier League, especially. I'm just looking to see if they look the part, of a Premier League player, and I think he did. And you're right, I don't think he was really at fault for the goal. It was a little, maybe you could have expected him to start this game just with the options we had at center back, and we kind of needed him to play. And so I thought he looked good. And then the second half of me, when the team, when we were playing at our best, we didn't really need our defense to do anything. So, that's kind of the ideal situation. You just don't put your young center back in positions where he, has to defend. And so, but even then, I still think he held up well. It was not really a fault for the goal. But encouraging, to see him, get a start, and hopefully that'll, kickstart his campaign, and I'm sure we'll see him more throughout the season.
Yeah, Chris, I mean, a lot of people put a lot of pressure on Jurgen this summer around not buying a centre-back and stuff, and he did say he had every faith in Quansah. Now, not saying one game's going to say all the problems are fixed, but do you think our fan base maybe needs to have a little bit more faith in the gaffer and understand that he does know what's best? Because as a fourth-choice centre-half, in realistic terms, he's not a bad option, really.
No, I don't think he will be a bad option. I think it's probably really important to stress the fact that he was probably, whilst he was thrown in a bit today, he was still protected a little bit. And I think that was causing us some problems in that we didn't want to expose him in the slightest. So I think that we were kind of, if you like, we had three defenders trying to cover for four. with a bonus that he was there as well. And I think that it made us look really stretched at the back certainly in the first half. But all you can ask from a 20-year-old centre-back when they're making a debut is don't make a mistake. And he didn't put a foot wrong. And that's, look, I think that'll be good enough for us. I do think that we'll probably look for a centre-back in January. But I certainly wouldn't have any reservations about him playing between now and then.
Yeah. Before we move on, don't forget to leave a like and a subscribe on the channel. It helps the video out loads, helps the channel out loads. Good to see all the usuals in the comments. Vase of Flowers, Vin and J Muse. Hello to you. Put this one to you, Ben. Like Vase of Flowers said, when he's surprised when McAllister went off. But McAllister's been fantastic this season. But I do think today he just looked completely out of it. I mean, within the last 50 hours, he's played on a pitch that required gas after he then flew home miles away and then being thrown in. So realistically speaking, he probably shouldn't have started today anyway, should he?
No, he shouldn't have. And, you know, in that first 45 minutes, you could see he was absolutely knackered. He just, you know, he kind of morphed into Milner, you know, for a little part. His legs were completely gone. So slow, but he shouldn't have really been starting. It's a big ask, isn't it? I watched the Argentine Bolivia game, and it was, you know, there was a lot made about the what's the word I'm looking for about the very thin air. There was a lot made about the, you know, if my word's gone. Can anyone answer that? Put that
altitude.
Altitude. Way. That's serious. Yeah, there was a lot made about the altitude, and there was a photo on Instagram of him sucking on an oxygen tank. So, you know, he was obviously knackered. But I don't think you can make much of a judgment based on that first 45 minutes. But, you know, I think there was a bit of noise made before the game. The fact that we've got players in South America playing international football, and then we're on the TV at 12:30. And, you know, it's definitely not an excuse. It's fact that a 12:30 football match after an international break should not be played. Just should not. I know there's obviously money that comes into it from the club side, but you could see it. I actually, you know, when I used to play FIFA, I know some people probably still do. I used to play it, and you used to look at the energy bar when you played in two games in such a short space of time, and you really want to start your best players, but you can see that there's no energy there. You could see that today, you could see that in the game today. So many of them were just out on the feet, really, within that first 25-30 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, race the 12:30 kickoffs are horrendous for Liverpool. I mean, I know we've got the win today, but when you look at other sides, Liverpool playing 6 of them is a long stretch away from everyone else. Why is it always us?
I don't know. And we've got another one coming out of the next international break against Everton. So we're going to come back to the same, you know, kind of talking point. But yeah, it's certainly frustrating, especially with, you know, the South Americans in our team and how important, you know, they are in our team. And of course, I'm sure, you know, Klopp would have loved to start Diaz and Nunez, but like you said, it's just, you know, with the games we've got coming up in the short span, you know, it's just, you have to make a call. I mean, one of these games you have to almost sacrifice and, you know, start some other players. And so McAllister, you know, getting to start, certainly some questions, you know, as to if he should have started on. I didn't mind seeing him in the starting 11. But certainly after the fact, you know, probably wasn't maybe the best idea. I think Endo would have been a good shout there just because he had a good international break as well. So, yeah, it's, you know, I hopefully, you know, cross our fingers, we exercised our demons on these, you know, those 12:30 kickoffs, you know, it's just, yeah, I mean, the rate that we get these games at compared to everyone else is just, it's just maddening. And I mean, why can't like City get this slot or someone else? I mean, like it's so annoying.
Yeah, I mean, going off what you just said, the broker saying Liverpool the most watched club. So City are a small club that I don't understand why they don't get them. But I just think
fair point.
12:30 kickoff should be more your side, say like Palace or something. Sides who don't have many international players who should be playing these 12:30 TV kickoff games. And then if you want Liverpool on the telly, put us on a 5:30 or just completely do what everyone wants to do and scrap this 3 p.m. blackout. But I just want to pull this up as well if we move on from Richard. There's going to be a match preview before the game. There's going to be a predicted 11 out on Wednesday. So I'm not going to ruin them videos by going into that today. But there is last content coming this week, so stay tuned for that. But Chris, Andy Robbo got man of the match. For me, in the first 50 minutes, he was the only player we looked asked for Liverpool. So I think it's deserving. And to see him get a goal when he's the skipper, his 200th game, I think Robbo gets a lot of hate. But for me, he's still one of the best left backs I've seen play for Liverpool, and to get that goal and what ultimately you could regard as the winner, and he went on to score again.
Can't disagree with you.
What else?
Yeah, I can't disagree with you, Robertson. You know, I used to play left back in my day, and it's been brilliant watching him. To be fair, for Liverpool, I think he's been absolutely stellar for the last 5 or 6 years. Today, I thought he was probably, as I was saying before, about trying to protect Quansah. I thought he was the one that was probably kind of leading on that, really. And then in the second half, we got to see Robertson in his glory, really, because we went really back to a back four and let the fullbacks bomb on a bit on the outside, which suits him. Bit perverse saying that when he scored the goal from the right wing, but there you go. No, I thought it was well deserved man of the match today. I don't think you could really have picked anybody else over the full 90, because everybody else, 90% of the rest of the players, pretty much got a bit of a black mark in that first half, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Ben, bringing this up, what Vibav has said, I agree. I was going to bring this up. Gakpo, are his performances so far this season worrying? I know we got a goal today, so it'll be overshadowed a little bit, and he has played in midfield, which isn't his position, but he just hasn't seemed like, even today in that 9 role, he hasn't seemed like the Gakpo of last season, as he seems like he's struggling to go into the pace of the game a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. And I wonder whether whether you've got Diaz fit, you've got Jota fit, you've got Nunez, Salah, psychologically, whether he knows that, there's more pressure on his performances than there was last season. But also, I think that it doesn't really help him, the fact that he is playing in midfield and he's drifting across the line. So ultimately for him, I think it's about just finding that best position. Where is Gakpo going to be at his best? Because for me, I don't think he is a number 9. I see him more as a number 10. I'd like to see him play slightly behind Nunez, to try and fit him in there. But he hasn't been great, to be honest with you, and it is slightly worrying. But at the end of the day, as a team, it's a great start to the season. These are the. I know they're a little bit nail biting, going down for being down a goal at time away to Wolves and being a goal behind to Newcastle. But these are the results that really get me going. These really make my weekend.
Yeah, Ray, to me, Muse makes a comment about Gakpo maybe being misused at Liverpool. Do you think that that's the point as well, that we aren't playing him to his strengths, like what Ben said, and Muse saying here as well?
Yeah, I think it's all about Gakpo just finding the right fit, the right role for him in this team. He came into a side last year where our midfield was pretty dreadful. Now he's got that support from midfield, so now he's kind of have to adjust from there. And so and again, the increased competition of Nunez, looking sharp, and of course, Jota's always going to be behind him there as well. And I'm not too worried about his performances. I mean, it's really just been kind of a makeshift roles for him so far. Like he says, playing in midfield, and then this first half, the setup that we were in just didn't make much sense at all. And then he got the thankfully for himself got the goal there. And so I'm curious to see how he'll fare in these next few games, maybe the Europa League, whatever it may be. Because we certainly know the talent that he is and what he can provide to this team. So certainly hope that I don't think he's played bad necessarily, just hasn't really done much, and I don't think has had much of an opportunity. That's not to say that he can't play any better, but I'll so hopefully that we can find some sort of good role for him.
Yeah, Chris, do you think Liverpool are in a good position to carry on the season, maybe with a title push? I mean, I've said this from the start of the season, but we found ourselves top of the league after that game. Now I know it's only early days, but we haven't looked bad considering it was all doom and gloom before the start of the season for the majority of the fan base.
No, we don't look bad. We're scoring relatively freely. We all know that we've got issues at the back, particularly when we're missing a couple of players as we have been. For me, I think it's today was actually a good example, because I think today what we saw was a team that had to build the way into a football match, because we started atrociously. And I think that was as much to do with the way the manager set them up as anything else. Don't get me wrong. This is not me just slating the players. But we had to kind of construct today's football match. And I think to an extent we'll have to do the same across the season. The way the season's kind of panned out at the beginning, the kind of 4 games, international break, 4 games, international break, it's all just about points. Like, to be honest with you, the performance today doesn't really matter that much. The 3 points really do. And now we've got another 9 to play for before the next international break. And then I think we can start to sit down and say, actually, teams are starting to sort themselves out. We kind of know where we sit in the pecking order. Are we in striking distance? If we are, let's go. And if we're not, let's be the best of the rest. And I think that's kind of it for us this season. And to be fair, I think we've got to be patient with that as well, because it's very rare that you see a team with a kind of brand shiny new midfield take the league by storm. So it is going to be a case of let's build slow and steady, keep racking up the points and see where we are later on.
Yeah, I mean, Ben, Chris makes a good point. Like, it is just about slow. No one would probably expect Liverpool to do anything this year with a whole midfield gelling in. And I think Mark Goldbridge, to be fair to him, although he's a United fan, he hit the nail on the head. He had a video come out after the last game saying, like, for a manager to bring a whole new midfield, embed them in, and hit the ground running from the off, that shouldn't go underrated, because that's huge, isn't it?
Huge. Obviously, it's we couldn't really ask for a better start to the season with the midfield overhaul that we've had in the summer. It certainly can't be easy, but you've got to give credit. You've got to, I know a couple of us were having a good moan in the summer about the pace on which the signings were coming in, but it's obviously, but it's done a job. And just jumping on to what you asked Chris there about, can we start to look at Liverpool as possibly, going for a title this season, even with this midfield rebuild? Then one thing I like to see is the mentality seems to be back. That never die attitude. And I think it's them sort of moments in the season, even so early in the season, that they just give you so much moving forward. And one thing that I noticed, even with the substitution, is there was that element of the bench was right behind the 11 on the pitch. Even the people, obviously, the players sat behind Klopp. Even when people were coming off, they were happy to be coming off, because there was a real team spirit there. And that last season, I don't feel was there. So I reckon that is worth its weight in gold going forward. But based on what's happened in the summer and based on the way that we started the season, I think it could be on a good title push. Maybe not winning the title, but we'll be right up there.
Yeah. And I just want to touch on this lad, Szoboszlai. He's had so many plaudits for how good he's been going forward, but he didn't even know how to place in the 6 either, did he, today?
Yeah, and I remember there was one thing, I think it was in the first half, where I forget who it was, but Szoboszlai just ran down a Wolves player who was, looking through on goal, and Szoboszlai really caught up to him, and there were a couple of players behind him as well. But just tracking back and defensively, I mean, you just talk about a guy who's just fit so well into this team, and showed today that he can, do a job both going forward and tracking back. And so again, kind of in the first half, it's hard to rate that one because we were just so poor and the whole team just looked out of sorts. But once we really got into our game and our system in the second half, I thought he did well. And it wasn't a game for him to dominate. It was a game for kind of some other players to take the lead on this one. And so once again, just another solid performance from Szoboszlai, who he's a nailed on starter right now. He has been this whole season. He's got to be one of the first names on the team sheet, barring getting him some rest or whatnot. So just really exciting to see that from him.
Yeah. And I think Chris, with this result's gonna be looked at as probably one of the biggest of the season, right? When you're looking to get that win and keep the unbeaten run up before you're going into we've got a tough run really. Our next 3 fixtures before the international break being West Ham at home and then Tottenham and Brighton away. Getting them 3 points on the board against your sides like Wolves, who probably are going to find themselves in the bottom half of the table. I don't think that should go under the radar too much, should it?
No, look, I think it was really important that we got the 3 points. Like you say, the games coming up will really shine a light on where we're going to be as a team going forward this season. I think it was imperative that we got the 3 points today, and it's only when you look at the next few games that you think, geez, if we didn't get the 3 points today, how could we look going into the next international break? Like, it could be a bad one. But now I'm kind of eagerly awaiting Tottenham away at this stage, to be honest, because I'm thinking it's going to be a real barometer for us. We'll really find out where we are. But then, kind of thought that about Newcastle away as well early in the season. So if we could get a similar result, I'd be quite happy with that.
Yeah, but we have had quite a few tough fixtures to start the season, really. But I suppose it's better to get them over and done with. But can you see the majority of today's side being fresh for West Ham and probably not even maybe getting near even the bench against Lask on Thursday?
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if Quansah was to start, but apart from that, I don't think anyone else will be there. Maybe Elliott, who came on, he probably somewhere there, but I don't think I think it will be fresh legs. There'll be fresh legs for West Ham, and I think there'll be I think there'll only be half that first team's after them actually even on the bench. So I think we'll be recharged come West Ham. But it's an interesting another thing that we say that now. Obviously, I know they're not traveling quite as far as South America, but there's going to be a lot of Thursday night football this year as well. So it'll be interesting to see how it's all balanced. Obviously, I know in the group stage of the Europa we can get away with it. Maybe the first knockout round, but it's going to be interesting how it all pans out. I know the summer window's just finished, but I'm already looking forward to January. I am because yeah. No, well, I said it a couple of weeks ago, didn't I? I said that if we can get ourselves in a position of being in a title race, just staying in the Europa. Which in fairness, I think that the good thing about the Europa is we can do that with a second string, third string team pretty much until the knockout stages. But yeah, I reckon if we can stay in the title charge till the title race till then in January there's nothing to say we can't go out and do a couple of big names, couple of quality signings, and yeah.
I'm finally race finisher on you. You can have the deciding factor. Are Liverpool going to win the league?
Oh, that's a big question. It's hard to say at this point. Certainly, again, it's easy to think with this team and expect that we can challenge for the title because we've seen it before. But like we mentioned before about bringing in a whole new midfield and how hard that is to really have them hit the ground running in the first season is such a daunting task. And we've made it, at least for these first few games, look kind of, made it work. And so that gives me more belief, keep seeing this team perform well. And just the way that we just turned on this game at halftime. Of course, there was some lineup and some decisions that had to be made, coming into this game with the early kickoff and whatnot. But once we were able to get into what we wanted to do, I mean, we looked damn good at it. So it's easy to believe that we can challenge for a title. Just knock on wood that we, don't have any major injuries or anything like that. Little knocks are going to come up here and there, but I mean, ideally, this team, at its best and fit for the most part, should challenge for the title because you look at the board across, you got City up there and then us, and then maybe Arsenal going to be up there, but that's kind of it. I mean, I don't think we expect United or Tottenham or anyone else to challenge up there. So I think we can certainly put our name in that hat for now.
Hopefully, but we'll leave it there. We're back today at 7:30 for another stream talking about a few about transfers. I'm sure the Hinch Cappy stuff will come up because that's the big rumor that's come out since yesterday, and a little bit more of an analysis on today's game. So we're at 7:30 tomorrow. Anyone actually want to watch along, hopefully they will be back, and it's just been a bit busy this week, so that's where it is. But nice one for everyone for watching. Nice one to Chris, Ben, and Race for joining me. We're back later at 7:30, and don't forget to leave the like and subscribe